Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining the Riverwood Conservancy's webinar series. Today, we are joined by a few very special speakers. First, we have Tim McGregor, who will be speaking about Mukwa Giizis, or Bare Moon. Tim McGregor is a traditional Anishinaabe who practices the traditional style of dance. He has been involved with the Riverwood Conservancy's past Jiingtamok events and has a wealth of knowledge about Indigenous histories and teachings. So thank you, miigwech, to Tim for joining us today. We also have Vivian Recollet and Tabitha Shergold with us today. So miigwech to you both for joining us. I am Stephanie Keeler. I am the Community Program Coordinator at the Riverwood Conservancy. I hope everyone's doing well today. Special thanks goes to Community Foundation of Mississauga for making this webinar possible. And as always, we greatly appreciate any support you can provide. And before I go too much further today, the Riverwood Conservancy would like to acknowledge that the land on which we operate is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the homeland of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, and Haudenosaunee nations. Today, this place is still home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land. So I'm just going to close my screen here. And I'm hoping that this will be the last time that we have to do this virtually. But Tim, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your knowledge, your time, your storytelling, your teachings about Mukwa. I would like to offer you this tobacco tie. And today, I hope you're okay that I'll offer this to the lands at Riverwood, but in the future, near future, I hope, it will be wonderful to offer you this in person as well. So chi miigwech. To Tabitha Shergold, thank you so much, miigwech, for joining us today as well and sharing your knowledge and being with us today. Once again, I'll offer this to the lands at Riverwood, if that's okay with you, and I hope to see you in person soon. And the last one, Vivian Recollet, chi miigwech for joining us today. I hope you can accept this tobacco tie for sharing your knowledge and being with us today virtually. And once again, I hope to see you in person. So for everyone watching today, if you have questions for Tim, Vivian, or Tabitha, please type them in the Q&A section and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. But I will stop talking. I am talking too much. Tim, I believe I will hand it over to you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Anikinawaya. Nakugijik dish nakaz makwadodem. Mumpi wiwaskinaga donjabanongo. Hello, everybody. Anikinawaya, that's how we say hello, everybody. Miigwech gibijoin. Miigwech for coming today. Thank you for coming today. It's always nice to be able to get together. Sure, like that idea of getting together one day again soon, be able to talk. And the way we do a lot of our teachings is with circles and fires and stuff like that, lodges. And I guess this is our lodge now. We got a nice lodge. We've got all kinds of different backgrounds in our lodge, and that's good. It's good to be here today. Nakogijik is my Anishinaabe and Nozum, which means my Indian name. They used to call it one time. What's your Indian name? Well, that's my Indian name. Then I became a First Nation name. Then after a while, it was my Aboriginal name. And now it's my Indigenous name. But it's basically just, sign at times that different designations we get, but we've always been Anishinaabe. That's who I am, I'm Anishinaabe. Right from the time I walked and probably the time I take my journey out here. Hopefully that's not tomorrow or the next day. Want to be around for a while, so that's good. So yeah, my Jaganash Nuzum, my name to use in the government and all that kind of stuff is Tim McGregor. It's a long history to that name too, McGregor. A lot of times that we have names that, like Vivian has a Recollet, for example, and a lot of those names are French and Scottish derivative. That's kind of it ties in with the history of Canada. A lot of the settlement of our country was through the fur trade. And a lot of the fur traders were Hudson Bay Company, which is well known, and also the Northwest Company. The difference there was one was the British, the Hudson Bay was British, but it was staffed by a lot of people from the Scottish area, Orkney Islands, for example, and stuff like that. And they brought a lot of things to us. We learned how to make fry bread and stuff like that because of the flour and stuff. So there's a lot of history with our names. McGregor is one of those names. It's been tied in with a lot of the fur trade posts and you know, I guess the Hudson Bay trap lines and such like that. So, you know, we don't say that you know, we don't respect that. I do have a lot of respect for that name also too. The names were given, you know, every time you do that, the respect you get to a name is what you put into it. And that's exactly the way I feel. You know, I learned the history of it from many, many years ago. So that's kind of where our teachings are. It's a lot of learned teachings that you get in different ways. You know, it's the modern way of doing things. I see a lot of our students have checked in from different schools, so a lot of different ways that you learn is through books. Well, back in my day it was books, but now I guess it's laptops and tablets and everything else like that. But similarly, it's got the same type of information. Well, I guess I'm the Anishinaabe version of the tablets that's in the laptops. This is what we do. I'm doing that too with our people. You know, our students, our people, anybody who wants to listen, for that matter. We're not, you know, it's not a closed shop, and that's why I'm kind of happy that there's lots of people who come over here today wanting to learn about Mukwa Giizis and what does that mean. You know, so it's a good time to get all those teachings. So, you know, a lot of what we teach is part history, and it's part common sense, and it's part our ties to the land too. And you know, I have to say miigwech for, you know, all the people that came over that popped in today. You know, Stephanie, her in the Riverwood Conservancy, like she mentioned before, I've been over there a few times. We did a number of online programming and stuff like that, sharing what we know. It's always good to share that. You know, it's just one of our journeys as people that become knowledge keepers and such. It's not ours to hold on to. It's not something that's hoarded or guarded or kept. You know, that's you have that responsibility and obligation after a while to share all that knowledge, and that's what I do. I'm following out my life path, you know, to share that knowledge and to, you know, pass on those teachings wherever I can. And that's how with Anishinaabe people, that's how those teachings and the stories, they get carried on from one generation to another. And a lot of the teachings I was given follow along that too. So before I go any more, you know, talking about those kind of teachings and stuff like that, I have to say miigwech and acknowledge all those knowledge keepers that, you know, came, and our people, our ancestors, you know, that carried on those teachings through some pretty strenuous times, some really difficult times in our history. And, you know, to be able to sit here today, speak Anishinaabe and talk about those kind of teachings is a testament to the resilience of our ancestors who've been around, you know, and passed on those teachings to us, so that we have that right to be able to speak our language, the right to be able to talk about teachings. And we don't need a truck convoy to do that. We just have to do it every day. Come up and do that kind of stuff. You know, that freedom is in your heart. It's not what you can make noise or scare people or anything like that. It's what you have in your own heart. So I acknowledge those people that went through all that kind of stuff and passed on those teachings to my Mishomis, my Nokomis, my grandmother and my grandfather, and to my parents and my uncles and my aunts, and all the elders in my community and other communities. And that, you know, I say miigwech to them also too, that they've been elders and knowledge keepers, language carriers that I've had the honor. It's an honor to sit in their presence and to listen, to have those teachings. You know, when we were young, and our word, one of the first words we learned is bizindan, and they usually go like this a lot of time. Bizindan means to hear, to listen to what you're about to get, because it's a teaching. And those are, you know, our responsibilities to learn those teachings and to pay attention to that, because one day you're going to be your job, your responsibility to pass on those teachings. So that was, we were told a long time ago by those knowledge keepers I acknowledged in our, the ones that passed that on, to listen to it and to listen to those stories, and to, not to forget anything. That those stories, that's how we pass them on, is to tell the stories and listen to the details, because a lot of times the stories that are told are in the language. They do have a lot of detail in them, and that, it's not just, it's like going to school. You don't go to one class and then you know it all. You have to keep going to class till all year round, right? All the students will know that. You're in there in September and you're going to go right till June, and you're probably going to keep on learning the same stuff every day. Well, that's good, because that's how you learn, and that's the same with us too. We spend our teachings like that. When I was young, I heard, the same kind of different stories, maybe in different version from different places, and that's something that also bear in mind too, is that there's no one version of it. I mean, we're not all lumped into Indigenous and have one version of what it means to be in our country. We have different versions of that all over the place. Anishinabenini, for example, is different than Minnesing, where I come from, or Vivian comes from say Jimnising, the big island on Georgian Bay, or from New Credit or places like that. It's different. The stories they're basically the same, but they have different variances, different kind of ways of explaining things after, and so it's not that one size fits all. We have many different stories on the same thing, and that's the beauty of who we are. It's when we explain that to them, it's like going to a powwow, for example, and you see all those people that come out there. They all have different types of colors on. They all have different types of outfits on, and they basically came from four main colors. And how many possibilities is that to have that you could have 500 people coming into the powwow, and nobody will have the same design or the same color scheme, but they all have the different ones. And that's the same with our teachings and our language too, is that we have a lot of different variations of that, but still holding true to that. So that's, I guess, a long way of saying I acknowledge those people that carried on those stories, carried on those teachings to where we are. This kind of teaching is our classroom is outside. Kujing is outside. That's where our teachings happen a lot of times. Sometimes even in lodges too. Like that's we go on our homes, our lodges. Back in the day, and that's the other thing to realize too, is that we're not stuck back in 1850, no matter what kind of book you read. We're into 2022, and our lodges look just like your lodges now. There are wigwams too, and our teaching lodges are similar to that, similar to your classroom. So those are kind of variations. You need to bring yourself up to date, and don't try and position somebody back from something you've seen in a history book, because we're dynamic. We're always moving. We're always moving ahead. We're not stuck in 1850. I always used to have people, when I go to powwows, would tell me, "Oh, you don't look like this book I seen back in the 1920s from Edward Curtis painted this painting of you." I said, "Isn't that wonderful?" I said, we're not an anthropological throwback. We're not in a museum where I'm standing right in front of you. I'm talking to you. And I have different things on. Our traders back in the day used to be the Hudson Bay Company or anybody else that came over, and then we traded, and got metal utensils, and we got beads, and we got cloth, and such like that. And so we were always evolving. And even to this day, our traders are places like John Bead, for example, or you might even go to Walmart, or even you might go to places like fabric store, fabric land, and stuff like that. And now, instead of old ties that we might have had back in the day, now we use things like snaps, metal snaps, or Velcro. That's the evolution of what it is. And I had a discussion one time where somebody said, well, that's not really traditional. That's not who your people is. I said, I'm going to tell you something. As soon as one of our people make that, whatever material they use, that becomes traditional because we put our spirit into that. So you need to move on about it. It's the same thing with the teachings like that. You know, you would say, I heard Tim McGregor say on February 28th, this is the way Bear Moon teaching is. And what you're telling me is not the same thing. So one of you is obviously lying. Well, don't ever say that. Don't ever say that, because that is not the truth, because whoever is telling you or passing on a teaching at any time on different things has that variation, that story that comes from their teachings they received from all those years. So that's why I'm saying is that to make, you know, to understand that there's different variations of that, and there's different stories that go along with that, to keep that in mind too. So anyway, our circles are where we used to learn that. You know, I used to learn a lot of it sitting outside campfires. I guess the word you want, the closest designation you'd call is a campfire. Except we're kind of camping, but there's a teaching circle. We'd sit out there and we'd listen to a lot of there was no posters went out or nothing. That you showed up, and whoever was there and passed on a teaching. A lot of times it follows the same thing we're doing now too. We're following different times of the year. We go to different places, and there'd be teachings that go along with some of those things that we gathered for. And it's the same here. We're coming here too because we want to talk about Mukwa Giizis. And in general terms, that's February, I guess it is, but it's really not February. It's Mukwa Giizis. It's when the moon changes, and the moon hasn't changed quite yet. So somebody will say, well, Mukwa Giizis, isn't that February? Well, why would you wait to the end of the month to talk about Mukwa Giizis? Well, I guess you can talk about Mukwa Giizis during the whole month of whenever the moon is going through its phases. So the difference there is that we're talking about a Gregorian calendar with 12 months. Yeah, that's the one you're used to. You're used to January, February. Well, I'm used to it too. I follow that too. March, April, May, June, July, August, all of those, you know, those are the different months that we have, the months. So with our creation story, you know, we follow that Mukwa Giizis. It follows the seasons. You know, we everything that it's not an isolation. You can't just look at it in isolation by itself. You have to consider that it's part of a greater story, and that greater story comes from you know, our seasons. You know, our life, our seasons go around the 4 seasons, and all the mysteries, all the teachings, and then, you know, to get a better understanding of where that is, you need, you know, understand that within our calendar there's 4 seasons essentially. You know, there's Bebon, which we're kind of in right now, which is winter, so we call it Bebon. And then coming very soon is Zigwan. Zigwan is the spring. That's coming very soon. And those are solstices when we change those two. That's another teaching, another story goes with each one of those two. And then Nibin, which is summer. That's the next season coming on. Dagawagan, which is fall. So those are the cycles of the seasons that we follow, and all these teachings, all the ones that there's moons in each one of those seasons. So everyone has mysteries, everyone has teachings. And this one here, the one we're getting to eventually, you say, holy smoke, that guy takes a long time to talk about Mukwa Giizis, say, but you got to realize that a lot of our teachings, that's how it happened too, is that there was a lot of background, if you want to call it that, you need to know before you get to it. You know, you can't just pick it up like, okay, let's get that book here and let's go to chapter 5. Well, you need to know the other 4 chapters before you can understand what chapter 5 is. So that's kind of like what, when we do a lot of teachings, we hear a lot of people talking about teachings, they'll go and they'll give you all that kind of background first to understand what it is before you actually get into the, you know, the 5-minute version of what that could be. You know, you could go into Mukwa Giizis, you know, even go on to my greatest teacher of all. Doesn't need tobacco for that one. Grandfather Google knows everything. If you want to go and see Grandfather Google, you don't even have to give him tobacco, him her tobacco. You just go on there and you punch in Mukwa Giizis. It'll tell you the 3-minute version of Mukwa Giizis. It'll tell you what it knows. Where it doesn't understand how it fits in there. You know, say, okay, how does Mukwa Giizis fit into the whole scheme of the seasons, the different solstices? I don't think it'll tell you that one yet. But anyway, so, you know, I look at Mukwa Giizis as an aspect of all this creation, all this we talked about too. It follows along those creations like that. So to understand that, we need to put that in. It follows, that's where our teachings come from too. It comes from history, not history, but the history for sure, but also from natural world, or our natural world is where we get all these teachings from. A lot of our moons, they follow along that natural moon, that natural cycle of things, nature. It was the greatest teacher we had, still is the greatest teacher we had. Anybody disputes that, look at all the tsunamis and earthquakes and everything else like that, and the big wildfires and stuff like that. It doesn't happen by chance. There's reasons for that happening. So that's nature. That's nature is taking a stand here. Anyway, so those are, where Mukwa Giizis fits in there. But I think just to talk about Mukwa Giizis, we need to understand that in our creation story that there's 13 moons. You have 12 calendars, 12 calendar months, but you have 13 moons. And Mukwa Giizis is the second one. But I think before we start talking about that, I think we need to acknowledge that all of them first, and then we'll get back to Mukwa Giizis again. So we just passed the one before. It was Manito Giizis, which was the first moon of creation. It was a spirit moon. And then we're getting into the one right now. This one I'm going to talk about here. This is the one we came over to learn a little bit about today, what that means, why it's called Mukwa Giizis. Is Mukwa Giizis, the bear moon. That's what Mukwa Giizis. Giizis is a moon. And Mukwa Giizis is bear moon. It's the second moon of creation. And then very shortly, the days are getting warmer now. The sun's coming out. Nights are cold again, still yet too. And but soon, the maple syrup, the sap will start to run in those maple trees, and we'll start to make maple syrup. So we're going to go through the third moon of creation here, and that's called Ziisbakadokeh. Ziisbakadokeh Giizis. Ziisbakot is sugar, so it's the sugar moon. Ziisbakadokeh Giizis. And then about the time when the ice starts to leave the shore, that's when the fish will come out. Neme is a sturgeon. It comes up to the shore and starts to feed on things out there. So when that ice starts to leave again, it will be Nemedbene Giizis, would be the sucker moon. So that's the fourth moon of creation. And after that, when the ice starts to melt and the grass starts to, the snow starts to leave, all that, then we get into where all the living things start coming out. The grass starts popping up. Some of the flowers start popping up again. And we call that Wawaskene Giizis, the moon, the flower moon, which is the fifth moon of creation. And right after the flowers start coming up, usually you'll watch that. You watch this too. You'll see those plants, especially the strawberry plants. They'll have those flowers come up, and then after that, the berries itself come up. Odemen Giizis is next. That's the strawberry moon, which is the sixth moon of creation. That's about the time I was born too. I guess so maybe explains why I like a lot of strawberries. So that's understanding where all this fits in. Muskokamene Giizis is after that again, more berries. Muskokamene, which is a raspberry moon. That's coming right after that one. And in the summer again, you get more berries. Datikagamen berry, which is the blackberry moon, the eighth moon of creation. And then around about September, around about then, you get about the ninth moon of creation. That's Ndaman Giizis, Ndaman being corn. So that's corn moon. And then from there, when the leaves start to come off the trees, you start seeing that it's Benakwe Giizis. Benakwe Giizis is when the leaves start to fall down. That's the 10th moon of creation. And then it starts to get cold. It starts to get really cold. Mashkade Giizis, which is the freezing moon. So that's her, I guess, closest moon there is maybe October, November, somewhere around there. That's when it starts to get cold. And then they have Minido Giizis, which is the little spirit moon. And then the last one on that cycle of 13 moons is Minido Giizis, 13 moon, and it comes all over again. It goes into Nido Giizis, the spirit moon, and then come back to Mukwa Giizis. So those are the moons, the cycles. So why they have these really nice, colorful names. You know, they're very descriptive, and they are. That's exactly why they call them that, is because they're very descriptive. They have a teaching that goes along with every one of them. Every one of them has a time. Everyone has a color. It all has different times of the years that have teachings that go along with that. So that's where Mukwa Giizis fits in. And to just take that out isolation, you know, by itself is you know, something that we try not to do. We want to make sure that we honor and respect all those moons, that all of them have teaching. All of them. We could sit here next month and we could talk about these Bakadog Kea Giizis too, because that's important too. All those moons are different, have different significance, have different teachings and stuff like that. So anyway, after all that, and you know, people are gone out for their coffee and they're going back again and say, okay, when are we going to get to Mukwa Giizis? Well, we're getting to Mukwa Giizis because now we know where Mukwa Giizis fits and all that. So we come to Mukwa Giizis now, Mukwa Giizis. So it's bare moon. So you might think, well, it's February, it's still cold out there. Why is it the Mukwa coming out there? Does the Mukwa come out? Did they work up that time of year? Did they go out? All those kind of story kind of ideas come. You think about that, questions. What about this Mukwa Giizis? Why is it that? You know, so our Mukwa, you know, we have to see what goes beyond what your black and white. You got to trust in your visions. You got to trust in your dreams. You know, it's just not just what's apparent there. There's a different world that we live in too. That's the spirit world too, as well as this physical world. And a lot of what we have for Mukwa is that there are Bear Clan people. That's who I am, Mukwa Dodem, a Bear Clan person. And you know, generally speaking, they consider the Mukwa Dodem, the Bear Clan people, as Shkike people. Shkike meaning medicine. And medicine is not the go to the drugstore, go see the doctor. Well, there's our doctors and our drugstores too, but they're different. They're not recognized, and there's whole controversy over that. But you know, it's kept our people, sustained our people for generations of our people. So you know, people that still follow those ways know what that means. You know, especially in times of real sickness like the COVID that came on there. There's people had medicines to deal with that, to help along with that. And it's a cured it. It just helped it. No medicine will cure anything. It just helps it along. Your greatest medicine is your belief. You know, that's the greatest medicine you can have. It goes, I always think about that, you know, when you go to a Western doctor, for example, and you got something wrong with you, he gives you a little white pill, a little wee white pill, and you pop that in. And within about 5 or 10 minutes later, you feel better. You know, that's the greatest medicine in there is your belief that it's going to get you better. You know, so we're not going to detract into a medicinal debate here today, but I always think about that, you know, and people say, well, how do you think those roots are going to fix you? How do you think them leaves are going to fix you? How do you think those boughs of those branches or that bark inside it, and how is that going to fix you? You know, has it been, you know, clinically tested and all that kind of stuff? I said, well, I think the clinical test is probably the generations where people are still using, still around today. So yeah, there's a lot of debate going down there, but that's Bear Clan people are the ones largely that, you know, everybody has that same right. But overall, that was when we were saying about who the clans, the Bear Clan people were the ones that were carrying on the Shkike. And they know the plants and medicines and the different healing ways of them. That's part of the bear teachings itself. So they had that responsibility for protecting, to look to nature for the teachings, you know. Well, you don't have to go very far to follow that out. You think about Gashi Makwa, Mother Bear. You know, if you ever want to find out if there's a protection, go over there one day. I don't recommend this. And as a matter of fact, don't even think about it, because, you know, if there's some cubs over there and you get too close to them, you'll find out how protective Mother Bear is there. So it's not recommended. You know, if you see little ones there, leave quickly and go back to your car or wherever else you were, back in the trail or something like that. Don't go anywhere. You're not cute. Yeah, they might be cute, but Mama Bear doesn't think it's too cute if you get too close. So stay away. Stay away from that to it. That's nature. That's the protection that's coming in nature. That's Mukwa's teaching, following that nature, is to look after young ones, and that's kind of the same thing we have. We take that same teaching and we apply that in our own life too, is to look after those kind of things. And protecting is not just physically, it's spiritually, mentally, all those, it's all protection too. And we follow those teachings, you know, along that Mukwa, along with all the other Wisniak, all the animals out there, are great teachers, you know, that we learn our lessons in nature and follow those along, because they provide those teachings to us. So, you know, another one, you know, you see sometimes we have a lot of our homeless people, Aboriginal people, Indigenous people, however you want to describe them, in a lot of cities. And a lot of times they're have a lot of issues with, you know, being safe. So in some of the cities we have street patrols out there, and the name they call themselves is the Bear Clan Street Patrol. So Bear Clan, so they're carrying on that responsibility to Bear Clan to be protective. So they're doing the same thing. They're looking after those people that don't have the resources to look after themselves in the city for whatever reason. Whatever reason. Again, this is not a social commentary. We're not going. There's all kinds of reasons they're in cities. There's all kinds of reasons they're not able to look after themselves. And but there are that outfit out there that in different places that are, you know, modeled after the Bear Clan Street Patrol. So the Mukwa Giizis, you know, a lot of things about that. You know, it's like just listening to me. It teaches patience. You got to have a lot of patience sometimes, you know, to get in there. We talk about something. So, you know, it's one thing I learned a long time ago, is to have that patience, that there's the quick answer is not going to be the quick answer that you think. It might take it took me years actually to learn some stuff like that too. So we, you will learn patience, you know, with Mukwa. And Mukwa has a lot of patience too. You know, you think about that, you know, if we even go get back to what Mukwa Giizis is. Yeah, Mukwa Giizis, you know, it started in the fall, part of that cycle when Mukwa went into hibernation. That's when that quest started. You know, probably before then there was, you know, some mating going on way before then, and Mukwa went into hibernation back in the fall when falling leaves. But Mukwa Giizis, when the moon of the falling leaves, is when it went into hibernation. So when the days were getting shorter, the days were getting colder, that's when Mukwa knows it's time to go to sleep. And all that time carrying on that life that was in there. And it's this time of the year, you know, that Mukwa, you know, when you talk about honoring and respecting life, that Mukwa, when it went in there, knew that life would return. Never doubted it. Always knew that life would return. That's the honor of that Mukwa, is knowing that this would happen, would come on like that. That never doubted that in this time of year, that, you know, that those little ones would be born. And that's what Mukwa Giizis is. It means the time is when these little ones are born. And or sometimes, you know, it's cold at night. Some days it's cold too. And some of our elders talk about, you know, they see, you know, when people call that frost hanging in the air, that frost that hangs out there, they say that that comes from the breath of the Mukwa when they're born. You come out there, it comes out from wherever they're hibernating, comes out, and it shows itself out there too. So there's a lot of other, you know, things that go along that the teaching of Mukwa is, I guess, to know is that it's a cycle of life that started not just you know, a month ago or something like that. It started in the fall, and it carries on that cycle of life, and that they honor that life, and they know that's going to come again, and it's the time of when those animals are born. And a lot of times a lot of other four-legged animals come out to check out. You know, I heard the story one time that the Chimakwa, the mother bear, would toss out the little ones out there to go see what it's like, and see how it goes. I don't know if that was a humorous story. A lot of times with our stories, you gotta make sure that you know that you're not pulling your leg or stretching to you see how your beliefs are. But you know, to go out there, maybe it was, but this was the time they were born. I don't think they would toss any light newborns out there to see that, but they were on. But a lot of our other four-leggeds, they come out this time of year too. You know, you think about not too long ago, wasn't maybe 3-4 weeks ago. There a lot of people put a lot of stock in this one little animal there. He goes out there and he's apparently got the skill and the knowledge to know what kind of season we're going to have for the rest of the winter here. You know, they call him you know, in our language it's Kokajish, and that's the groundhog. You know, I for all the life of me, you know, I never knew the teaching that the groundhog was able to see into the future and to determine whether or not you're going to have an early spring or a late winter or anything like that. But apparently, science has said this Kokajish, he is the one that will tell you that. So they bring Kokajish comes out of his hibernation. He comes out there, and apparently it's got a specific day, February 2nd, I think it is. I think that's when he comes out. Very specific, you know. It's no moon to that, or no Giizis or nothing. Just very specific, February 2nd. And if he comes out, and not how the story goes, if he sees his shadow when it's sunny out, he gets scared and he goes back in, and you're supposed to have a long winter. But if he doesn't see it, and he'll say, well, it's time to come out, then it is short winter. So that apparently that's a teaching goes along with that. I don't know how much validity there is in that. I've been around many winters. Kokajish has supposedly come out and said, and he's not doing very good in terms of his track records, or you know, maybe that's just up in this part where I live. So anyway, yeah, so that's the cycle of life. That's what we're talking about. Mukwa Giizis is a cycle of life. It's ongoing, it's continuous, it's been passed down for generations. You know, the teachings of all creation has been here. Our storytellers, similar to me, we have that, you know, teaching within us, and we have that to pass on to anybody who cares to listen. And one of those is that Mukwa Giizis is one of those special teachings. You know, there's a lot that goes along with that, and it's not just the actual physical thing. It's knowing where it fits in, how it fits in, and you know, the teachings that go along with it. Who is Mukwa? Why is Mukwa so special? All those kind of things go into a lot of that too. And a lot of those teachings come from those ongoing, continuous kind of teachings from nature. So that's Mukwa Giizis. Nahaw.
Thank you, Tim Miigwech. That was so wonderful. The time just flew by. I think all of us could have sat here for hours listening to you. That was really, really wonderful. Tabitha, Vivian, I don't know if you want to say anything as well, or if we should go to questions. We do have a couple questions, and if anyone has any more questions, please post them in the Q&A chat now. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can comment down below too. And I'm looking at the Facebook over here too. So 2 screens. Vivian, were you going to say something as well?
Yes. You know, every month we have the full moon ceremonies with the Indigenous Network. So that brings you to the whole spectrum of the whole year to be able to gather your knowledge and balance yourself in your spiritual journey as well, so that you understand the whole context of the teachings. So it's not just about one moon, it's about every moon that happens every month, and the woman's responsibility in that regard. And also we celebrate our role as the caretakers of the water, and you know, this 4 sacred medicines that we hold so dear and close to our hearts, so that we honor and respect all of those things like Tim said. But also, I heard the same thing that you heard about the bear moon as well. That's when the bear goes into hibernation in the fall, and we honor and respect that vision quest that it's gone through those cold months. I also heard that it used to be the bear that they counted on to be able to let us know if it was going to be a long winter or a short winter by when the bear throws those little bear cubs outside. If they come back in, then it's going to be cold. If they stay outside and play, then the weather, and Mukwa Giizis replace that bear for for that teaching. And so, you know, we hear different versions of different teachings. And, you know, it's whatever feels right for you in your territory, or whatever you put into your own resource bank of things to draw on. So, like I said, you know, there's no right or wrong way of teachings. There's many ways, and it's great to be able to share this knowledge with other people. So, Jiingtamok.
Thank you, Tabitha. Jiingtamok. Sorry, Vivian. I'm looking at Tabitha. Tabitha, did you want to share anything?
No, miigwech. Of course, in terms of us celebrating that connection to Nokomis, Grandmother Moon, every month, we also want to welcome all self-identifying women in our ceremony and teachings, because it's important for us to understand what our roles and responsibilities are regarding Nokomis. And each month or each full moon, we have a certain set of teachings. Now, again, going back to what Tim has shared, will determine those teachings, and every nation has a different set of teachings. So what we share with you might not be the same somewhere else. There's no right or wrong, they're just different, and we respect them the same. So again, going back to welcoming all self-identified women to join us and honor and respect Grandmother Moon and each other in that good way, and Mother Earth and those beautiful sacred waters is so important to do, because at that time, there are so many of us who are honoring Nokomis in that good way. And so I encourage you to connect to Mother Earth, to connect to those moons, because those teachings are so sacred to us as a people, and we must pay respect to them and have that understanding of those teachings. And so, as Tim shared, there's no short way of getting to the point of it. So I do encourage you to join us. Once a month, you can look on our website, look on our Facebook page at the Indigenous Network, and you'll find all of our programs there. And then in each poster, you will find how to register. So I look forward to meeting new people, meeting new energy, spirits, and having all of your ancestors join us. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity today to listen to Tim and Vivian and participate with everyone else in today's session.
Thank you, Tabitha. Miigwech, Tim, Vivian, Tabitha, again, for your time. Wonderful, wonderful presentation. And it's great having a group of us in here listening, and hopefully soon in person. That just makes it that much better to see everyone's faces as well. We do have some questions for you three. Before we go ahead with that, I just want to say another thanks to Community Foundations of Mississauga, who has supported this work and made it possible for us. Earlier this year, we also had Elder Gary Sue on a virtual webinar. And then last year we had Jiingtamok, and hopefully we do have plans for Jiingtamok this year as well, which hopefully will be bigger and better than ever with no more pandemic. So thank you, Community Foundations of Mississauga as well, for making it possible. So I will open things up for questions now. And the first one that came to us was, do you have to be part of the Bear Clan to teach or share bear teachings? Anyone want to take that question?
I think they belong to all humanity, all these teachings. And I think that my belief anyway is that, yeah, well, there's been in the clan system, I've identified certain characteristics of different clans to do along, but I think that we all do that. We all do the different teachings for the different clans. And it's like, again, going to the teaching of the specific bare moon and not considering the other 12 moons there too. I think it's the same with the teachings, that they all make up who you are. And to be able to do that, I think that's learning those all the time. I've certainly listened to other clans and talked about what the whole clan system is, and the ones that make sense to me that I want to apply in my life, I apply to them. I not apply to them, but I apply them to my life. That's how I want to conduct my life. And again, most of it's like based on common sense, based on teachings from nature and stuff. And I think that if it fits who you are, not to take it out of context, but also to fit into your overall makeup, I think that of course you can use those teachings.
Thank you, Tim. Vivian, were you going to say anything with that as well?
Well, I do the Grandmother Moon teachings every month, and I am not actually, I'm not sure about my past history, but because I'm part of the 60s group, so I'm just still learning about my heritage and my culture from way back then. And anyways, I'm Turtle Clan, so it is my responsibility to do these teachings as well. So it depends on the person that's doing the teachings and their knowledge and skill base. So I think, if you have an elder that you learn from, they will direct you on what it is that you're able to teach. And yeah, you don't have to be Bear Clan to do the teachings, but you have to have a high regard and respect for the teachings itself. So thank you.
Thanks, Vivian. Another question that came in: can people whom are not born into a certain clan be adopted into a clan?
Yep.
I see Vivian saying yes.
Yeah, from my understanding from my elder, the Martin clan people are the only ones that can adopt people into that clan, unless yeah, that's the teaching that I have. The Martin clans are the ones that adopt, because every clan has a responsibility, right? So yeah.
Thanks, Vivian. I'm going to kind of combine two questions that we got from two different people. Can non-Indigenous people come to full moon gatherings? And then kind of on the same note, can settlers adopt bear teachings into their life? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, in terms of our ceremony teachings, right now we are virtual and will continue to be at least until May. We do welcome those who are non-Indigenous to join us, because we want to honor the same gifts that they walk with and continue to help non-Indigenous community members to understand who we are as a people, what our culture and traditional ways are about, so that they can then walk on their journeys with that respect and share that with others.
Thank you, Tabitha. Vivian?
Oh, we welcome, for the Grandmother Full Moon teachings, we welcome all women. As Tabitha said, all women are life givers. It doesn't matter what nation you're from. If you're non-Indigenous, it's good to be able to learn your responsibilities and relationship with Grandmother Moon, especially when your children, your young girls get to be of childbearing years and understand that relationship. Because I think it helps a lot of the young girls navigate sexual predation and stuff like that, to be able to understand their own physical body and their responsibility to themselves as well as to the community in terms of Grandmother Moon, and that sense of pride that you have when you have aunties helping you through that period of time when you are going through your coming into your womanhood and being able to bring forth life. So it's a very powerful time for a young.
Thank you, Vivian. This is a question specifically for Tim. Are the colors in the headdress behind you the colors of your clan, Tim?
Well, there's a couple things there. First, that's not a headdress. If I'll scroll down here a little bit, you can see that's those are two bustles, and they belong to a set for fancy dancers. So there's one or two. So they're not a headdress. It's a bustle, and a bustle is what's worn on your back when you're a dancer, traditional dancer. But this is a set of fancy dancer bustles, and there are two, one by your shoulder and one by your waist. So there's a whole regalia teaching that goes along with that we could spend an afternoon with one day talking about regalia too, and the different sorts. But that's my grandson's bustle, and I was doing some work on it, so it's hanging there, kind of waiting for me. Every time I go by it, I look at it and I know I gotta do some more work on it. So it's there. And those aren't colors of the clan. Bear Clan colors usually are red and are bird and black. And the clan is colors are clan colors aren't necessarily set in, as they say that saying, they're set in stone. It's kind of what they adopt for their colors, but colors are individual. They belong to yourself, whether you're given to them or you go to a ceremony to receive those colors, or sometimes it's just as simple as you like them. That's one thing that I never discourage anybody from not putting colors on because they haven't gone to a ceremony or anything like that to do it. Sometimes your ceremony is your heart, and it tells you those are the ones that make you feel good. And if that's what it amounts to, put them on, wear them. Those are colors that every color is sacred. Every color has a teaching, and if it reaches out to you and it sits with you and it feels good, then use it. There's teachings that go along with it, but there are different colors, I guess, that are associated with clans, and red and black it is. I in a lot of my regalia is red, white, and black. Like a zebra, and so they used to have that old joke when people used to know about newspapers. Not so much anymore. You can't tell that joke anymore because it's a whole crew of people that don't understand what you're talking about anymore. And they said, what's red, what's black and white and red all over? And nobody seems to know. And they said, well, zebra de santan? No. Sunburn? No, that's a newspaper. And then people, what's a newspaper? I got kids like that in the school one time, so I don't tell that joke no more because it's only select crew understand what that is. But those are different colors, those are different ones that those colors there that belong to are used by my grandson, and he has colors that he's comfortable with. He was actually given those colors too. So there's different ways you get colors, and again, there's so many different ways. There's not a wrong way. There's not a right way. There's not a this is the Turtle Clan, for example, is only green. Bear Clan is only black and white. Eagle Clan is only yellow, for example. There's no fixed kind of a way of looking at colors. There's different people in different clans that have different colors, and it's because of the sacredness of those colors and how it rests with that individual, what it means to them. I think that's the meaning there. How it. When it's there's ways that you get those colors, and there's other ways that we don't get too hung up on it, put it that way.
Miigwech, Tim. I'm just looking at the time now, and it's 2 o'clock, and like I said before, the time is just flying by. So thank you so much. And Tim, so that joke did land with people in the chat. There's some people laughing. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today and for our wonderful speakers. I don't know, Tabitha, Tim, Vivian, do you have any final words or resources that you would like to share with the group before we say goodbye this afternoon?
I have shared in the chat to everyone the link for the 3 programs that we have at the Indigenous Network. Also our Facebook page for the Indigenous Network. And once again, you do not have to be Indigenous to participate in our programs and join us as a center. We look forward to connecting with you. If you have any questions, I can also provide my email address in the chat for you. And we look forward to connecting with you. So Kachimi Gwech for this opportunity today and sharing your energies, spirits, and ancestors with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tabitha. Tim, Vivian?
I think for myself, I would like to let everybody know out there that, you know, this is a great time of change again, now that the COVID mandates are being lifted and everything else like that. I think it's a great time to be able to celebrate and have a nice feast. Holy Spirit played out for COVID, for the many beautiful teachings that it brought to our people about humanity and how we persevered through something very, very different for the past 2 years, but also it opened our eyes to the importance of our children and our connection to each other in our homes, being segregated from all the work that we've all had to travel to do and stuff like that, and working from home and navigating a new way of life and how that feels for us. We have to be grateful for everything that comes into our life to be able to teach us and remember this teaching. That's very powerful because our children will now have different history to be able to let their children know. So chimiigwech for that, and for your sematai, and a nice meal for COVID. And COVID had 2 children, remember? Omicron and Delta. So it's time for it to move on. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Vivian. And Tim?
No, miigwech gibijoin nongo. Miigwech gibizindoin. Well, see you again sometime, somewhere along the trail. So miigwech everybody for coming today. Good miigwech for listening. Always every one of these has teaching. Every one of those moons has teaching. Like Vivian and Tabitha were saying that there's different times. There's men have teachings, women have teachings. You know, I was waiting for a man to ask if we could go to a full moon ceremony, and I would say, oh, and maybe that's not a good idea. We'll there's a man ceremony that do go along with that. So there are different ones too. So the more you start to learn, the more you start to appreciate you know, the different teachings that go along with it too. And it's always about respect and honor. And it's been my honor to be here today. Miigwech.
Wonderful. Chimiigwech. Oh, Vivian, were you going to say one last thing?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, the women attend the full moon ceremony and there's a fire right outside. So that's where the men sit, at the fire, to learn the teachings of the fire. Miigwech.
Wonderful. Chimiigwech, Tabitha, Tim, Vivian, for your time, your teachings, your knowledge, allowing all of us to sit with you for this hour and learn about Mukwa. And I am just looking forward to seeing you all at Riverwood in the near future, and continuing this learning with all of you. So miigwech. And we will see you all at the next one. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining as well today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll put you in touch with the right person. Thank you, everyone. Miigwech. Have a good day.